Welcome to the Elevated Edge podcast. My name is Naeem. In this episode, I talk with Marcus Williams, who is a safety at Mississippi State. Throughout the episode, we talk about his journey through the portal and how he started as a true freshman and worked his way up the ranks and now is top dog on campus. Let's get straight to the episode. Marcus, it's good to chat with you, bro. Want to get straight into it. So you went from Rice, you just transferred to Mississippi State, and ultimately you entered the portal. I'm sure there's a ton of takeaways we're gonna have from that, but what was the moment like when you realized that you had to bet on yourself and make that move?
I'd say, I didn't really try to think about it too much throughout the season. I knew that I had 1 year of college football left, and I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted to use that last year. I was kind of betting on myself for a very good productive season in the 25 season, so that I would have the opportunity to have like an option, you know what I'm saying? So I'd say after our last bowl game, I sat there and talked to my parents for a while. And, I came to Rice as a true freshman. The goal was to, play football and get a degree from Rice. And I had the opportunity to do both of those. So the main thing was, off the table, and that was the degree. So, in talking to my parents and trying to figure everything out, we decided that, and I ultimately decided that it was time to hop in the portal and bet on myself.
Yeah, and obviously you and I played your true freshman year at Rice. What were some of the things when you first initially touched campus and in that first year that you really think kind of brought you back to reality and really humbled you?
Yeah, man. So obviously, college ball is a lot different than high school. In high school, you feel like you're the man. You can do no wrong, and even when you do wrong, you feel like you're still a little bit in the right. But when I first got to Rice, especially, I'm fortunate to have like older guys like you, Akenna, George, some of the older guys that I could like look up to my true freshman year. But it was definitely an experience, an eye-opening experience. And it also changed my perspective on a lot of things, even in terms of off the field things like the things that I took serious, the things that I didn't take serious, my priorities, and then going on to like on the football field, it was just the game is a whole lot faster. You got to process things quicker, you got to react quicker. So I definitely say I was humbled. Probably as soon as I started like in fall camp and practice and stuff, like whether that's going in the one-on-ones, because I believe at that time we had, I don't know if you remember AP. I remember having to
Yep.
guard AP one time, and that was the first time I had seen like the quickness like that. So that was a good experience, and it woke me up, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely different.
Yeah, and you touched on something really important that I'd like to dive into a little bit deeper because ultimately, if you're making that jump realistically into college, playing at the D1 level, you were probably the guy in high school. So now, you're around a bunch of guys that were the guys now on this team. So it's like, what do you think are some of the big things that can separate someone to be successful when they were used to just being the guy and being able to get away with things compared to now where, a lot more people are on the same playing field.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It kind of goes back. I briefly hit on it when I talked about priorities. I think that's one of the main things, but going hand in hand with your priorities, I say your discipline. Because you can have your priorities and you can have like your goals listed out, and you can write everything down. But if you're not like disciplined and you're not focused on like achieving those specific goals, it's definitely going to be hard. So I say discipline would be the main thing that separates average to like great players. Discipline in terms of like what time they go to sleep, or like what they put in their bodies, whether that's like the right meals, the right vitamins, things like that, how they train themselves, just consistency and discipline day after day, and I think that eventually it'll separate you.
Yeah, that's really good. And I really want to jump into learning about the portal a little bit because towards the end of my career, it started to really take off. But obviously, there's been a couple years where it's just really exploded. So, obviously, a lot of people see the portal and it looks really glamorous online. But what is some of the realities of being in it that like most people don't know about?
Yeah, I'll begin like with myself. I was fortunate to land a spot like Mississippi State. So I'm blessed for that. But I've had a lot of teammates and a lot of friends that have took the portal route, and it's just the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Sometimes you see teammates and they're very good players, and then you see them hop in the portal and they're not really playing for their next school, or some guys hop in the portal and nobody reaches out to them because it's like you said, it's been growing a whole lot. So I mean, it's like thousands and thousands and thousands of student athletes getting in there as soon as it opens to like the day, like the last second that it closes. So not only do you have to like make a name for yourself, it's just hard to get like exposure. You know what I mean? Especially if you didn't do exactly like what you wanted to do the year before. Like you're trying to use like some practice clips to like get your name out there and stuff like that. It's just so many other guys that you're competing against, and I think that kind of goes back to like having that discipline, that consistency, so separate yourself. But yeah, man, the grasses are always greener. These coaches, even sometimes like they'll hit you up, they'll talk to you, and they might hype your head up. Next thing you know, like they got somebody else, they got another guy that they want to go get, and then there goes your spot. You know what I mean? So it's a risk. It's definitely a big risk, and it takes a lot of faith. But like I said, in my situation, I was fortunate. But there have been a lot of other situations where other guys aren't as fortunate.
Yeah, and with your story, obviously you're one of the success stories that can come from the transfer portal. Of, you started at Rice, you played multiple years there, balled out, and then ultimately transferring up to Mississippi State. But ultimately, there's a lot of people that never play ball again, or the opportunity, wasn't there presented that would put them in a really good position. So I think that ties really well actually into business. Ultimately people, business and sports are basically the same thing, and what I've seen is the grass isn't always greener. You might have a pay structure that looks really good, and then you get into it, and then ultimately it just doesn't end up what it's being. So ultimately these things that you're learning right now, I think will also be on the edges, will really translate really well. So I guess want to learn about why Mississippi State specifically, and what does this next chapter for you really entail, as not only just like a player, but also as a man.
Right. So Mississippi State, I'm originally from Hoover, Alabama, close to basically Birmingham, Alabama. And Mississippi State, that's very close to home. When I went to Rice, that's about 9.5 hours, 10 hours away from home. So it was a big step. I didn't really get a chance to, see my people very often, but that's just one of the many things. The distance is 2 hours away from my home, so I've already been home like 4 or 5 times since I've been here. Just like whether that's like on the weekend or just like meeting up with my mom for lunch or something like that. Just having the opportunity to do things like that is very big, and it means a lot to me. Another thing is, I did get my degree from Rice, but I did want to be doing something productive off the field. So I'm getting my MBA from Mississippi State, and I'll be able to get it in 1 year. So that's another thing that, it's like an off the field thing. Want to still be doing something that, I can better myself as a man, like you were saying, and not just as a football player. So that was another thing. And then, as soon as I hop in the portal, the Mississippi State coaches, like they reached out to me immediately. They were hitting my phone multiple times a day, letting me know that like, they really wanted me. And, as a, I guess like coming out of high school, any coach that reaches out to you, you kind of not get a big head or not like get like very like a big ego, but it kind of makes you feel good about yourself. And sometimes you don't always like see through some of the things that you should probably be able to see through. So I was just fortunate that now that I'm a little bit older, I have a little bit more experience, that I could tell that when the coaches were reaching out to me, that it was very genuine, and it didn't really feel fake. It didn't feel like that, they were like blowing smoke in my ear. So that was another thing, the relationship with the coaches. And then ultimately, just the opportunity to play ball in the SEC, as a kid, that's something, like I said, I grew up in Alabama, so I was a big time Alabama fan. So I'm always knowing about SEC and always watching that style of ball, and to be able to have the opportunity to, in my last year of college football, to be able to do that, it's really a blessing.
Yeah, and this is a really pivotal point for yourself, obviously going forward, knowing that you got to really be where your feet are at, since this is the last one. So, if you could, just go back in time real quick, and give one golden nugget for any high schooler or freshman just really walking into any type of opportunity of, especially the college football landscape right now, what is the biggest like mistake that you'd really tell them to avoid?
One thing that I probably try to tell my younger self, and I would also tell young high schoolers right now is, as a freshman, you think that you have time, you know what I mean, and high school it goes by fast, but I promise you, like it doesn't go by as fast as college does. So I'd say one thing is not always expecting, like, okay, maybe next year I'll get it or I'll lock in, after this semester, because the time goes like that. And then the more time that you spend, like, trying to better yourself, not only as a player, but as a man, you'll definitely look back later and really be proud of yourself and thank yourself that you did do that. Because I know there's sometimes, like, especially when I was like a true freshman, or even sometimes my red shirt freshman year, like there might be times where I didn't want to like go out there and do some extra work, or I'm like, I'm not really playing right now, so it doesn't really mean as much. Even with like the film room, I didn't really start learning how to really watch film until my later years of college football, and it really started clicking. But even now, like I look back and I'm like, man, like if I could have been on that, like when I was a young when I was a young buck and I was a freshman, like there's no telling like how good I could be right now. So I say that's one of the main things. Just not always expecting. You do have time, and you have time to develop. It's not a rush, but at the same time, make the most of your time, and don't spend your time, doing things that won't matter in the long run.
Yeah. And yeah, I really like what you had to say there. And so my last question for you is 5 years from now, what does success actually look like for Marcus Williams? Not just football, but life in general.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that's something I ask myself, even like on the daily, because I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that when I look at myself in the mirror, I want to see somebody that's disciplined, determined, and is successful in whatever field that is. If I have the opportunity to continue to play football, then success in the football field, and then if I go the business route and I'm working a job or doing anything else like that, I see myself being successful in that field, mastering the game, whether that's mastering the business or the football game, and just honing in on like the small details. I want to be somebody that people can come to and talk to. I want to be a leader, especially for like the younger generation. I want to be somebody that young guys can look up to and ask me for advice, football field or non-football field. I just want to be a good person, like in society, you know what I mean, and put myself in a position to grow myself. If I have a family, hopefully I have a family, to be able to be in a spot where I can take care of them as well, and just thrive. And the community that I have with me, I want to be able to bring them along with me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And really, Marcus, just want to say thank you very much for coming on. Obviously, it's really cool to see your journey not only as like a true freshman, but to where you are now. A lot of people just won't see all the sacrifice and different things that I know you put in on the playing field, also outside the playing field, and that's why you're at where you're at. So, good luck this season. Go crush it, bro.
I appreciate you, man.